My name is Joshua Lefkoff. I live in Chattanooga and I go to Baylor School. I'm in the 6th grade. Today, I'm going to be cooking Indonesian rice. So, first off, what we want to do is we want to make a sort of omelet to top it as for decoration. So, of course, to make an omelet, you got to crack some eggs. So, let's get cracking. So, we want to crack this open and put it in the trash bowl. And then we want to crack this one and as well put it in the trash bowl. And then, of course, you want to wash your hands because raw egg is not good to have on your hands. So, wash those and then dry it off here. And then we want to use our cilantro and cut it up with the batlef, as I call it, because it looks like the Klingon war weapon from Star Trek, which I know of because I'm a big nerd. I like all those things like Star Trek, Star Wars, all that stuff. So, we're going to cut this up until it looks to be about this. And then we want to put it in once we mix the eggs. So we want to mix the eggs here with this. So we want to pop the little kind of, I guess, shells, you could call it, that they're in, and mix it together. And we want it to get to look almost like mustard. This may take a bit because eggs are very difficult to mix up, and as you can see here, I can't really tilt it, but it looks sort of like mustard in a way. And then you want to put the cilantro in, so let's dump some of that in and mix it up. Excuse me. And once that is all mixed together, so let's get it all mixed together here. There we go. And again, I can't really tilt it, but it kind of should look like that. And then you want to pour it onto the pan here. Hopefully this doesn't overflow. And okay, good. Okay. And you want to make sure it covers the whole thing. It's kind of doing it itself, but still. And then you want to turn on your stove, of course. So I'm going to turn it on to about medium. And we're just going to kind of let that sit there for a moment while it cooks. It should be sort of like an omelet-like texture when it's finished. And then we want to put it onto a plate and put it aside. I'm just going to let that sit there while I work on the next part. So I'm going to pull this paper off because it has egg all over it. And hands that off. And now we are going to get started on the seasoning. So, for the seasoning, we're going to need a mortar and pestle, and I'm just going to set that right there. So, we want to cut up our ingredients. We want to cut up the shallot. So, to do that, we want to cut it, sort of dice it like an onion. So, let's cut that apart. I'm going to cut off this part here, because I think that's the head. I'm going to cut off the head and the butt. Excuse me. So, a little bit about myself. I enjoy video games, all sorts of technology, of course cooking, and I enjoy hanging out with my friends. School is fun. I do many after-school activities and language classes at my school, such as German, Chinese, Latin, and Spanish. And next year I get to pick one to study fully. So that will be fun. And as we cut up the onions here, so let's dice these here. Cutting up the onions. Or they're sort of onions. Okay, so once we have those cut, I'm going to cut them a bit more actually. Okay, so now we want to go ahead and put these in the mortar and pestle. I have already washed my hands, of course. Now, if you excuse me one second, I've got to get this because loud. 1 second. Eyes. Okay, so now we want to cut up the pepper. Now you want to be careful with peppers because you don't want to touch your eyes after touching them. Yeah, I know, I just did that. But I just touched the stem. You want to get the seeds out because the seeds are what make it spicy. So, me cut off the membrane here. I'm just going to cut off part of the pepper here and throw that aside and dump out all the seeds. You want to make sure you get all the seeds because you don't really need the pepper to be spicy in this recipe. So, okay, yeah. Okay, so I got all the seeds out. You might want to double check. Okay, because see, I missed 2 here that were kind of hiding in it. So I'm just going to pull those out. There we go. And now I definitely don't want to touch my eyes. So get your knife cleaned off, and then you want to cut this up into tiny, almost like rice-like pieces or small pieces. And once you have done that, you want to as well put it in the mortar and pestle. And then I'm going to cut up this other shallot real quick. So this will just take 1 second. A little bit more about myself. My favorite TV shows are Scooby-Doo, which I have basically grown up watching, and Big Bang Theory, which again is a nerd show, sort of. So we're just going to continue cutting the onions here. So there we go. Okay, so we want to throw the onions in. Once we have the onions, okay, I think our little thing, omelet thing, no it's not, it looked ready. Okay, so once we have that, we want to cut up the garlic. So what you want to do is you want to get a knife, about this size will work, put it on top, and slam it down and kind of crush the garlic. And then once you've done that, you kind of break it apart. And you want to maybe cut it up a little even, if you'd like, which is what I am doing. Okay, and you want to put that in as well. So then you want to ground it all up in the mortar and pestle. Normally this would be a lot easier, but I think I made the pieces a little too big. So this may take a bit. Mortar and pestle is hard. My eyes. And we're back. Sorry about that. I had not followed my own rule about not putting pepper in your eyes. But while we were gone, the omelet has finished. So let me grab my spatula here and kind of go round edge of it here and get it all good here. You guys can look at it. And then I have a plate here. Beautiful piece of plate. And then we want to set it there. And set this aside, turn off the stove so we do not die. And set this back here, wrong thing. And we want to set the omelet aside. And then we want to continue doing the mortar and pestle. So, again I say, I don't think I made these small enough, so I think I may have messed up. Here, let me try. I know how to fix this, so I can just dump them out and cut them out. Cut them up better. So, just fix this real quick. Simple fix. That looks better. Okay. Okay, much better. So just throw those back in. Okay. Now, this should do better. That sounds better, yeah. Grind the... I vegetables. Peppers, I'm gonna have to look that up if peppers are vegetables. Okay, so now this is at the consistency we want. So I'm gonna set the pestle aside. And let me grab my towel again real quick, because my eyes are getting watery from the onions and stuff. Okay, that's better. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to cut up the chicken. So we'll get my chicken here, set the mortar aside and the pestle. So set that there, and kind of clear off my chopping board here. Okay, so now we want to cut up the chicken. So I'm going to cut it like this. You want to cut it about thin strips, sort of like rice. And if you want to stack the chicken on top of each other, so you can cut the most at one time. And get this chicken is very hard to cut, and you want to cut off the fat. So once you have cut off, come on, one piece does not want to come off. So we want to keep cutting the chicken here, and we want to get a few decently sized strips, but they still want to be tiny strips. So you want to make sure you cut them off completely, or else they will not want to come off very well. So, or they won't want to cook very well. So once you have a decent kind of pile of chicken made here, you want to again set that aside, and you want to get a wok with some oil in it, and you want to spread the oil around the sides as I'm doing here. Once I actually can tilt it. And tilt it this way and get it all spread out. And then what you want to do is you want to, again, turn on the stove. I'm going to put it on to medium. And you want to get your seasoning. So I'm going to set the pestle aside. Grab a fork and dump all that in. And let it cook for a bit. So, as that cooks and kind of heats up, I guess I'll cut some more chicken, because you can never have too much cheese and or meat in a dish. As I cut this, I guess I'll talk a little bit more about myself. My favorite books are, what is it called? 39 Clues, and the Alex Rider series, which is about a teenage boy who's a spy, or who gets recruited to be a spy, and after his uncle mysteriously dies. I also have read and seen all the Harry Potter movies / books, and have attempted to watch at least one of the movies in Spanish before, but that didn't really work out. I enjoy playing soccer and doing cross country. I was recently in my school's middle school play. It was actually a parody of the Hunger Games called the Humor Games, and that was lots of fun. And now that our vegetables are kind of starting to sizzle here, we'll get those kind of moving so they don't really burn, because garlic can burn easily. So make sure those don't burn. And then I'm going to go ahead and get this all prepared. You know, the rice and the amazing shrimp. Nom nom, nom nom. So while we wait for this, I guess I'll go ahead and cut the shallots. But first we want to add the anchovy paste to this. So let's squirt in, and it calls for shrimp paste, but we could not find any shrimp paste at our grocery store. So we looked up the equivalent, and this was what it was anchovy paste, which, to be honest, I was surprised by. And it's about 1 cup per 1 teaspoon per 1 teaspoon. So I put in probably about 2 teaspoons, which is what it calls for. So then I'm gonna close this. Looks kind of like a tube of toothpaste. Don't use that as toothpaste. No, you don't. Okay, so while we wait for that, I'm gonna go ahead and cut up the shallots. So you want to cut these kind of diagonal, and you want to cut them very small and kind of in a stack here. And you want to keep them rubber banded if they're already rubber banded when you buy them. If not, I highly suggest you rubber band them because it makes it a lot easier. So cut these up almost down to the bottom, and then I'm going to cut this bottom part. Okay, so now that's finished, these vegetables are starting to sizzle. Get it mixed up a little. So then we want to set these aside. So I'm gonna move that right there. Or no, we want to keep them here, sorry. And we want to put in the meat. So we want to put in the pork. So drop that in. Get it all cooked up. Cook up meat. Okay, so then we want to put in the shrimp. Nom nom nom. Yeah, don't kill me. Shrimp. Shrimp is one of my favorite seafood. I love seafood. Shrimpy. Boiling in the wok. The walkie-talkie. Waka. Sounds like Pac-Man. Waka. I like Pac-Man. Okay, so get all the shrimp spread out in here. And the last shrimp. Wow. So, once we have the shrimp, oops, sorry, loud. We want to put in the shallots, or no, not the shallots, the scallions. So let's toss those in. Grab the rest here. And sprinkle those around everywhere. And finally, the most important thing, the rice. So let's, come on. Oh gosh, there it goes. Kind of get the rest out with my hand here. Okay, and then kind of get it mixed up. Mixing thing. 1 moment. So we want to get this all kind of mixed up, and then we will add the final ingredient, which is the soy sauce. So once I get this kind of all mixed up here, that should do it. Okay. So now we must add the soy sauce. So the soy sauce is from our local grocery store. So it's made near, or it's sold nearby. So now that we've put that in, we want to mix it up and get the soy sauce everywhere, because if the soy sauce isn't everywhere, then of course not everyone will get some of the soy sauce in it. So you want to make sure you get all it spread out. You want to maybe flip some of it, so pick it up and flip it. And you want to keep mixing it up and get it all yummy. I gave everything a little bit more time to cook and kind of mixed it just a little bit more, so it got all mixed together. So now we want to use our omelet, which I made beautifully, if I can say so myself. And we want to roll it up like a burrito. And then we want to get our knife, which I have already washed while I was waiting for the pork, or the things in the pot to cook. So I'm not cutting all this stuff with pork still on the knife. And you want to cut it up into slivers and cut it like a sort of omelet pinwheel thing. Speaking of pinwheels, some of the other foods I have made are sushi, which is sort of like a pinwheel, I guess. Steak pinwheels. I have made pretzels. I have made breakfast burritos. I've made egg tarts, which I'm sure you've seen. I've made all sorts of like gumbo jambalaya things. So I think we have enough egg topping. So we want to get some of the Indonesian rice here and put it on the plate. So I'm going to scoop it all up and I'm just going to do this. It'll be quicker. Scoop it into the plate. Okay, so fix it up a little. Napkin. And get it all fixed. Turn off the stove so no one dies. And get it all on the plate. And then we want to get some of the egg and kind of put it on the top. And that is how you make Indonesian fried rice.